Hi everybody, this is going to be a hardware and software tutorial on your Chromebook. What the ports do, how the software works, how you can get it set up to maximize your ability to use it in your classroom.
Now I'm going to start by talking about not what's underneath the keyboard, but what you will see on the sides. And there's a couple of different kinds of ports. The most important port on this entire machine is this one right here. This is a USB Type-C connector. And if you look very carefully, it has a tiny little power plug on that side, the picture of a power plug. That means that this is the port that you use to plug your computer in. So your computer will come with a charger, and that charger has on the other end USB Type-C. USB Type-C is a great connector. It's the new standard for lots of different USB devices. So if you have an Android phone, you probably have one of these kind of connectors. A lot of MacBooks are using these as their main power connector. Monitors are using it as their input connector. All kinds of things have moved to USB Type-C. It's a great connector. So your charging cable is USB Type-C, which means if you have an Android phone, you can actually plug this into your phone to charge your phone. Or you can plug it into your Chromebook to charge your Chromebook. And after it's plugged in for a moment, you get that little tiny orange indicator light to tell you that your device is charging. Now this port is kind of complicated, and we're going to come back and talk about it in a moment once we go through the other ports that you see on your device. So moving over next on this blue port, this is a USB Type A, and it's USB 3, which means it supports some of the faster speeds. You can see on this side it also has a little SS logo there that stands for super speed. So this is a USB 3 port that will allow you to have faster transfer speeds if you plug in a USB 3 thumb drive or something like that. Next to it right here, this is a micro SD card reader. Micro SD cards are the little teeny tiny ones that you see a lot in cell phones. Those will fit right inside of there, and those are really used for expanding the storage. It's not meant to be used all the time as a picture transfer kind of thing. It's more like, hey, my Chromebook only has so much space on it. I want more hard drive space. You can stick a micro SD card in there, and that will become your supplementary storage space. Next to it here you have a headphone microphone combo jack. This can be used with headphones to get audio out, but it can also be used with a microphone, especially the kind you might have from a cell phone, the little earbuds with a microphone built in. That microphone will work here as well. So if you have a headset or the earbuds that come with a phone, you can plug those in right there, and those will work just fine. If you're not sure if you have the right kind of cable, this is a 3.5 millimeter, what most people call an aux cable. And most of these have two little black lines here. This one has three little black lines, and those three little black lines mean that this is a microphone cable. These actually have the name TRSS. These are a tip ring sleeve connector. You don't really care. It's a 4-pole connector. That means that it has a microphone built in. So if you're not sure if the device or the cable that you are using has a microphone built into it or not, look at this end, and if it has three little black rings right there, this has a microphone and will work as a microphone for your Chromebook. So we'll come back, like I said, and talk about that port here in a moment. Let's flip over to the other side and talk about what we have here. Starting on this side, this is a Kensington lock. This is used basically to lock it down so somebody doesn't walk away with it. If you don't know what a Kensington lock is, you don't need to know what a Kensington lock is. That's basically how that works. This is another USB Type-C, but this one is not nearly as cool as the one on the other side. This is really just used again for data transfer. You cannot charge the device with this USB Type-C port. Even though the plug will fit, and it will not charge the device. This is important because you might be thinking you're charging your computer if you plug it into what looks like the exact same port, but it will not charge your computer. So if you are plugging your charging port into the right side, if you are looking at it, the right side with the screen open, this is not the correct side to charge your device. And it might even tell you on the device itself that, hey, this isn't going to work. Next, you have another USB Type 3 port right here. Again, this is for data transfer or for microphones, keyboards, mice, other kinds of things that are USB enabled. Here's the power button. And next you have the volume rocker. So that's how you turn the volume up and down on your device. Okay, so that's the major stuff, but there's one other little trick I want to show you on the bottom. You can see that we have the Wes Clark tags here on the bottom, and I don't think these are going to switch over to the Silver Creek ones, but if your students are using your Chromebook and you want to make sure that you get the right one back, there's a 4-digit number right there. That 4-digit number is unique for each one of these. It may not be a bad idea to write these down just so you know exactly which Chromebook is your Chromebook, in case you didn't know. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the screen. This is going to get into some of the other options with that USB-C port. So first off, the screen is a fold flat screen, which means it can operate in what is called tint mode, like this, which is a little bit silly. It's kind of like a display mode. Or you can fold it all the way flat and use it in tablet mode. And this works very well, especially if you are into using the stylus. The stylus can be found at the bottom of the device. It's in a little nook right there that you can pull out. And the stylus will allow you to use your device as a tablet. This can be very, very useful. It does disable the keyboard on the back. So if you're afraid of pushing the buttons on the keyboard that are on the back, don't worry about it. It disables those automatically. It does have a forward-facing camera and a forward-facing microphone. So you might find that recording in tint mode is a little bit more useful, but it has the problem of putting the camera on the very bottom of the screen. And if you watch my video about how to get good video quality out of a thing, you know that this is bad because this is going to be pointing straight up your nose. So it might seem more convenient to use one of these to record like this, but it's actually not very good. It also has the problem of, even if you use the camera normally, there is another camera right here on the keyboard, again, pointing straight up your nose. So try to use the one that is right up here at the top whenever you're recording. That one. Okay, so let's say that you have your little tiny Chromebook set up as your main computer at home. I don't know why you might be using your computer at home, hint, hint, but let's say that it is your only computer that you have at home, and you're tired of leaning over and staring at this tiny little screen and typing on this tiny little keyboard. It's not very ergonomic and it's not very friendly. What can you do? Well, if you go onto Amazon, you can find lots of what are called USB Type-C hubs or docks or other kinds of things like this. This is the one that I have. It's very universal. It works with lots of different devices. And it has on one end a USB Type-C plug. It has another USB Type-C, which this is for power pass-through. I'll show you that in a moment. Another USB Type-A 3.0, so it's a 3.0 speed USB port, and then a regular old USB 2.0. And this is okay. The real star of the show here is that. That is a full-size HDMI port. And that is how you can get full video out from your Chromebook. Now, unfortunately, these little docks don't come with your teacher Chromebook. You would need to buy one of these if you were interested in them. But again, this one is an Areca. I don't know. I can put a link to it in the description if you are curious about this very one. It works quite well. But there's lots of these. You just want to make sure that it has USB Type-C on one side and some kind of an HDMI on the other. You can find these that also have wired Ethernet connections and all kinds of stuff. And some of them are quite cheap. This one was like 20 or 30 bucks. Some of them can get very expensive. And it can be confusing too because you'll see Thunderbolt as a port and all kinds of other things. You just want to find a regular USB Type-C connector. So that's all you're looking for. But if you have this connected, you can get full video out from your machine. This might be a little hard to see because I've got a lot of stuff now happening on the table. But I have connected my dock right here. my little USB Type-C dock, to HDMI, which is running out to my external monitor right here. Then I've plugged in my USB Type-C charger, the one that comes with the Chromebook, into this dock for power so that it's also powering my Chromebook at the same time that it's putting video out. You can see over here that I have a video out display, and it's right now set to mirror mode. So the same thing will show up on both of these screens. You might like mirror mode, and that might be a great way for you to display what's going on in your Chromebook to another display. But really the most useful thing to do is to put these into what is called extended mode. So if you go into your settings, which by the way, to get into your settings, if you swipe up from the bottom, push up from the bottom and find your settings menu, find device, find display, you can have, it'll show your internal and external displays. Now, I right now have it set, like I said, to mirror, but actually it just automatically switched over to what is now called extended. So this is great. Now I can take and move a window over here and have a separate window showing on my external screen that is different from what is showing on my Chromebook screen. So now I can have two windows open. This is much more like what you could do with a regular laptop or regular desktop computer. This could be really useful, especially if you pair that with a USB keyboard and mouse plugged into this dock or into the Chromebook itself. You can then have a really nice, properly set up, comfortable to use computer at home. So if we happen to be e-learning, this might give you a better option. Now this is a computer monitor that I'm using as my secondary output, but anything with an HDMI input can be used. So a TV, an old TV, or maybe your main TV, whatever you have laying around can be made to work really well as an extra monitor for your Chromebook. Again, all you need is one of these little docks. You don't have to have it, but it is a thing that you can do if you'd like. Okay, next we're going to move into talking about the basic software setup of your Chromebook.
So here we are with our Chromebook now. Instead of looking at the external ports and such, we're now going to be looking at the internal, the software. I'm going to be doing a lot of this with a mouse, but remember that the screen that you see in front of you on your Chromebook is a touch screen, and you can do all of this stuff that I'm mentioning by touching it just like you can your cell phone, your smartphone. It supports multi-touch in the exact same way that your smartphone does. But I'm going to be doing it with the cursor so that you can kind of follow along with me and see exactly what I'm doing and when I'm doing it. So your Chromebook is running an operating system called ChromeOS. And operating systems are just the native program that runs all of the stuff on this computer. And you might be familiar with things like ChromeOS on this, or iOS on an Apple device, or Windows, or Linux, or Mac OS. All those things are operating systems. And the Chromebooks run an operating system called ChromeOS. And ChromeOS is designed specifically for Chromebooks. It's a lot like Android. So if you have an Android phone, ChromeOS and Android are very, very similar to each other. So similar, in fact, that some of the apps that are designed to work on Android will run on a Chromebook. So this computer is very, very easy to use. It's designed to be simple. It's designed to be mostly web-based. Web-based means that most of the computing services that you're going to be doing are going to be run through the web browser, which is why Google Chrome is the most real important part of this thing. Now, Google Chrome comes by default on what is called here your taskbar, and you can get to this by either just clicking here at the bottom, or you can drag up with your finger, or you can use your little scroller wheel to drag up, and you should see Chrome as one of the very first things that shows up here. And if you click Chrome, this is going to open just a internet browser. This is great. This allows you to get to the internet, your email, your school email, all that kind of stuff. It also is where you're going to be doing most of your word processing sort of services. If you go over here to the 9 little dots, that is going to take you to all the Google services that are tied to your school Google account. And you're looking specifically for Drive. Drive is the Google service that replicates a lot of the things that you're used to, like Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, Excel, things like that. They all have their own versions of things here. Now, this tutorial is not about Google Drive. You can find lots of resources about how to use Google Drive, but I wanted you to know how to get to it. Let's say you want to know how to get to this even easier. You want to see it right away. I'll show you how to set things up for easy access. If you swipe up on your taskbar, you might find that you have a Google Drive already here. And if you don't see it, that's okay. You can go to this white bar here and type Drive. And Google Drive will be one of the services that pops up right away. And of course, if you click that, it'll take you straight into your Google Drive without going through Google Chrome first. But let's say you want it right there so you can click it right away. If you go to that app drawer again and find, the actual Google Drive icon, and if you press it, maybe this is easier to do by touching it, but if you press it with your finger and hold it, you can move it around, but you can also drag it right down here onto the taskbar. And I just did that with my finger. You just grab it and move it down. And I suggest you put the things that you're going to be using the most frequently down here on your taskbar. That way, when you first boot up your Chromebook, the first thing you see is right there, the things that you're going to need the most, which on a Chromebook is going to be Chrome, Google Drive, and probably your email client. I also happen to have a direct link to Google Docs, and you can put direct links to the individual Google services like Slides or Sheets there as well. The next thing that is useful to use is the Chrome Web Store, which is this little icon right here. If you click the Chrome Web Store, you get some options. You can see you have things like Office 365. The things that you're going to be able to search for are specifically tailored for us by the school corporation. So you can't just get any old app to run on this. There's a little bit of curation going on to make sure that the things that we can install on the Chromebooks are things that are useful. But if you go to Apps, you can find all kinds of apps that we are allowed to install onto our Chromebooks. And there's all kinds of stuff here. Some of these are, obviously geared a little bit more towards listening to music and pictures and all kinds of fun stuff. But there's a lot of things here. And I'll show you just a quick one, how to install things. So I'm going to install Pixlr because Pixlr is something I've talked about in one of my other videos, the Schoology video. And it's kind of an in-browser Photoshop. So I just clicked onto, I'll show you how I did that. I clicked on that little picture of Pixlr, a little butterfly picture, and it took me to their page on the Chrome Web Store. And I'm going to click Add to Chrome and hit Add App. And this is going to do some stuff. Oh, that was quick. And now you can see that I have the Pixlr editor added to this little app drawer, and I can take it and slide it down so that it's always there if I want to have a nice a nice picture editor in the browser ready to go for me. You can get to it through the Chrome page as well, but this is just making it even easier. So now if I click on that, it will automatically start up Pixlr. Great. So that's how you add a app to your Chromebook. Again, these are fairly low-powered devices. They're not really designed to be running any really intense, really heavy programs. You're not going to be doing a lot of video editing or audio editing, really heavy stuff on these things. They're not designed for that. You want to find apps that are designed to run in the browser. So this is not the same thing as your teacher computer, which is a Windows machine and is far more powerful and is able to do a lot more things. These are meant for low power, sort of web-based, ease of use things as opposed to super powerful things. But if you look hard enough, you can find a lot of apps that will replicate to some degree or another the functionality that you might be used to on a more full-powered machine. I'm going to show you one more thing about the software on your Chromebook, and that is settings. So you can find settings by, again, swiping up on your window, or you can click the little circle icon here and search for settings. Click that. And the settings option has lots of things built into it. You have first here your network connectivity. These are Wi-Fi devices, so they will need to be connected to the internet via Wi-Fi. There is no Ethernet port on them, so the only way you can get them onto the internet, unless you have a USB Ethernet dongle, is by getting them connected to the Wi-Fi. And that means it will need to connect to the Wi-Fi at your house or at school. It will automatically connect to school, but you'll have to set it up specifically if you want it to work on your house. And this is where you would go to do that. Settings, network, add connection, and then find your Wi-Fi thing here. This does have a Bluetooth radio built into it, and it can do two-way communication, so you could hook up a Bluetooth speaker or a keyboard or mouse or those kinds of things, or a headset if that's what you're into. Device, this is where you can mess around with some of the particulars of the device itself, so you can make the touchpad work faster or slower if you want it to be more or less sensitive. You can enable dragging by just touching something and dragging it that way. You can do some simple things that way here. The stylus, you can control the basic functionality of that. Power will allow you to set how long it will do certain things. So if you don't like it to idle, like turn the display off, or you want to keep everything on, then you can change that setting here. If you want it to sleep when the lid is closed, you can change that. Or if you want to stay awake when the lid is closed, if you have it hooked up to an external monitor, you can change all those things here. Personalization, this is just going to do simple things mostly with how it looks. You don't need to worry about this. The search engine, you can actually, on a Google Chromebook, change the default search engine to something else. I guess you could make it search Bing if you're a hipster. The Play Store is probably not going to install, but this is the standard Android Play Store. And then Linux, don't mess with this. If you don't know what Linux is, you don't need to know how to run Linux. A few other quick things here. It does have some nice shortcut menus down here on the right. You can change the brightness of the screen with that little icon. Oh, let me show you all that again. If you click right here on this little right window, you get a bunch of notifications, just like a phone. You also get the option to change the brightness of the screen, which is this little slider here. You can't probably tell it. Yeah, you can't tell it because of the way I have it hooked up to record this, but on the screen that I can see, it's getting lighter and darker. You can change the volume that is being output by the device itself. You can change some things about the keyboard. If you want it to be a different language keyboard, you can set there. Nightlight just changes the screen. It gets rid of some of the blue in the screen. So if you would like to use it later at night and you don't want to have that glare that helps you or keeps you from falling asleep easily, you can turn on that nightlight function. Notifications and what the notifications do, all that stuff. You also have another link here to your settings, and you can sign out, turn off, lock the machine down, all that kind of stuff. All the normal computery things. I hope you found that tutorial useful. If you have any questions about your Chromebook, please get a hold of me. Again, my name is Alexander Smith in the school email, or Alex Smith in real life, and I'll be happy to help you with those kinds of Chromebook related questions. Thanks.